Friday, everyone. Thank you so much for taking time to join us today for the Mayor's Fund Finance and Audit Committee meeting. Before I turn it over to our Director of Finance, Chris Kausa, I'll take a moment for roll call to ensure we have all the members of the committee present for this live recording. So I'll start with our chair, Alexis Blaine, Commissioner Camilio.
Hello.
Matt Klein.
Hello.
Here.
And then from our Mayor's Fund team, Chris Kelsaw.
Here.
And Jorge Luis.
Here, present.
Fantastic. Anyone I haven't accounted for, I believe we're all present on our WebEx call. Thank you so much again for dropping in. So I'll pivot and turn to Chris, who will quickly go through our agenda and the purpose of our meeting, and then we'll turn to our partners at RSM. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Toya. Good afternoon, everyone. This is the second meeting we're having of our Audit and Finance Committee for FY20. I'd like to introduce our external auditors, RSM. We have Jen Katz here and Melissa Quinn, who will be conducting our audit for FY20. This is a pre-audit presentation to our Audit and Finance Committee. They will go over all of the items that will take place during our FY20 audit. So I'd like to introduce Melissa Quinn and Jen Katz.
Thank you, Chris. And I apologize, everyone, that my webcam is not working. I tried to fix it. It worked for a few days and it's not working anymore. So I'm sorry that you cannot see me. But I am Jen Katz. I'm the audit partner who leads the audit of the Mayor's Fund, and Melissa Quinn is joining as well. She's the manager, actually just recently promoted to senior manager. So the two of us have been working on the audit of Mayor's Fund for some time now, so we are very familiar with your organization. Of course, this year is going to be unique and different. So we have already been in discussions with Chris and Toya going over some of the changes that have happened and some of the new funding that you've received as a result of COVID-19. So what we'll do is first just walk through some of the standard communications, and then we're going to take this time just to ask a few questions of the audit committee that we're required to ask leading up to the audit as part of our planning. So we actually are planning to start the audit the week of July 6th. That's not next week, the week after. We'll be doing our preliminary planning and other preliminary procedures, which typically includes obtaining an update to our understanding of the organization, getting confirmation set up, going through all of our planning activities, and discussing any significant changes with you and with management. And then we'll come back in the end of August to start all of our year-end field work. So a few important items that I just want to highlight. One, there's no new GASB accounting pronouncements that will impact your financial statements this year. So that's a good thing because there's so many other changes going on. So there's nothing in terms of any changes to prior accounting treatment. Another big ticket item has been regarding deadlines. So we've reached out to the auditors of the City of New York and the city itself. The plan is still for the city to issue their CAFR in October, which is their normal timing every year. So there's no extension. And that means that the Mayor's Fund, because you are a component unit of the City of New York, your financial statements also have to be complete in time for the city's CAFR. So it's business as usual. We're not anticipating any extensions. There were some documents circulating regarding single audit extensions. So the Mayor's Fund does have a single audit because your federal expenditures have been above the $750,000 threshold requiring the audit. There had been some documentation saying that there's an automatic extension, But just this week, the OMB revised that, and they said if you have a fiscal year in 2020, and of course we are auditing June 30, 2020, there is no extension for your single audit. So it would still have the same deadline that you've always been subject to. That deadline actually is 9 months after your year end, but our goal always is to issue the single audit at the same time that we issue your basic financial statements. So that would be in October. Any questions just on the timing or anything I've covered so far? Okay. Just a few other things. You know, we're monitoring the CARES Act funding. Our understanding is that there's been approximately 20 new federal programs that have come out since the COVID-19 crisis. We don't have any guidance yet from the OMB on which of those programs have to go into your schedule of expenditures of federal awards, which of those programs will have their own CFDA number, and what the actual audit requirements related to those programs will be. But we are hoping to get that information in time for this audit. OMB is hoping to have all of that information available by August. So as soon as we're aware of it, we will communicate with you and just let you know. But part of our planning procedures in July will just be gathering a deeper understanding of all of the new funding you received, whether it be mostly private grants and not federal funding, or if it was federal as well. And that way, once the new guidance does come out, we'll be in a position to just proceed and you know, not have any delay in getting started with any audit work we have to do. And one other item I want to highlight is, of course, we're in a remote environment. RSM is still under mandatory work from home rules. We don't know yet for our New York office when we will be permitted back to the office. We do have requirements that we have to follow if we do want to go to a client site, and the client would have to be following pretty strict guidelines. So it's not likely, well, definitely not for planning, but even in August when the field work begins, it's not likely we'll be on site. But again, we'll monitor and we'll speak with you. So I do just want to take the time to let you know that we have been working on many audits remotely. All of our 12/31 year-end clients that were in progress when everything started in March, and we have been able to adapt very, very well. I have to say it's been really amazing to see just how well everyone's been able to adapt to it. We've been able to still meet our client deadlines. You know, of course, there could be challenges if certain items are manual and in your office that you just can't get access to. We've been able to brainstorm other ways to get access by, you know, reaching out to a vendor to send an email or to send an invoice again via email, or to reach out to the other party to an agreement to send their version of the signed agreement. So essentially what we're doing is we're going through the audit, we're seeing what's available, and then once we know what's not available, we're trying to figure out ways that we can you know, get it in some other format. So we'll work with you and hope that we won't have any significant delays due to not being there in person. So with that, I'll take another pause. I know everyone's on video, so it's sometimes hard to get in some questions or any comments you might have, so I'll pause again.
Toya and Chris, are you guys anticipating any challenges from doing the audit remotely?
Chris, you want to take that question?
No, at this time I don't. I am making plans to be in the office. I absolutely need to be. I anticipated that maybe once or twice a week to get documents that we have hard copies for that we don't have scanned. But I will say that in the last couple of years, the audit has been a lot of uploading documents to RSM. And so that will not be new to us. So I don't anticipate huge difficulties this year.
And I would agree with that as well, Alexis. I've been going into the office 1 day a week to pick up mail and any documents that Chris and team need, and have been providing those documents. And so, as Chris said, when it's required, either I or they will go into the office, but we don't anticipate any challenges. And we've already discussed a schedule and protocol for going into 253 and retrieving any documents when necessary. So we feel very ready and prepared.
Is the scope of this audit include getting documents or information from agencies that have entered into contracts with vendors as well, or?
We hold all of the contracts, so we have those in our office, or as Chris said, already scanned. We may be in contact with agencies, absolutely, as we move through the audit, but the majority of the documentation is stuff that we have on hand. Chris, anything you want to add to that?
No, I would just say that we have maintained contact with our agency partners and vendors if need be the last 3 months. So yeah, I don't anticipate difficulties in getting information from them if needed.
Any other questions from the audit committee before Jen and Melissa move forward?
I have one question regarding the agency partners. Has anybody asked for more time? Do you anticipate there might be some bumps getting documentation or responses from any of the agencies due to COVID, or people have been responsive so far?
Yeah, in our continued, our programs team continues to meet with our agency partners on a regular basis. And in those meetings that I've sat in on, no, I don't think that no one has asked for additional time. I think that they realize that this is going to go on as it has in previous years. So, so no. And then looking at the schedule of the audit, the timing of getting documents to RSM seems reasonable to me. And I think that in years past, we've been able to work through any difficulties that arise. So, so yeah.
Thank you.
We'll pivot
So
back
this
to
is-
RSM.
Yeah, thank you. So one thing I want to add, because Chris had made a comment about uploading documents, and just for the committee members' benefit, we use a secure FTP website. So everything that is uploaded to us is a secure, protected environment. It's not through email. It's not just out on, an open public website. It is FTP protected. So I just want to let you know that, and it helps that way we all have access to documents without clogging everyone's emails. So the next item that we wanted to do is just ask a few questions, and Melissa, I'll ask a few, and then if you have any to add, after mine, feel free to chime in for anything I left off. But, one big thing is just any areas of risk or, based on the committee members' assessment of the mayor's fund, any risk areas or significant matters, especially as it could relate to internal controls that could cause, risk, or any allegations of fraud you may be aware of. We would love to just hear from you and get your viewpoints on that.
I don't think there are any that I'm aware of, no.
Okay, thank you. And so we would ask that if anything were to come up between now and when we meet at the end of the audit, please just reach out to us if it's a significant matter. Certain things have to be communicated to us immediately. And likewise, we would also communicate to you immediately if we were ever to become aware of anything for, an allegation of fraud, suspected fraud, or anything bearing on the integrity of anyone working in, on the financial statements. So just required items that we would communicate to you, and we would also want you to communicate to us. Melissa, any other questions, or did we cover it all? I was just looking through. I think we covered everything. Okay, great. So that concludes everything that we wanted to go through. And I guess if there are any more questions, we're happy to answer them now.
Any questions from the audit committee?
None from me.
No.
No.
Great. So Chris and I, including Harry, who's our finance associate, Chris, or manager?
Associate, that's correct.
Thank you. Finance associate will be working very closely with Melissa and Jen to ensure we are able to meet the September deadline. The next Finance and Audit Committee meeting will be held in September once we have the audit, maybe early October, but will be held upon completion of the audit. So we'll reach out to folks in early September to schedule that meeting so that Melissa and Jen can come and present the findings of our FY20 audit. And if there are no questions, I want to thank everyone for making time today for this pre-audit committee meeting on June 26th. Really appreciate the time and dedication you guys have put forward for the Mayor's Fund, and happy Friday. Safe and healthy weekend, everyone.
Joya, thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye,
Take care,
everyone.
everyone.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you, Jen. Thank you, Melissa.